I think like most things, it's not automatic, but the more you do it, the better you should get. It's not always the case. But I think if you're passionate about what you're doing, it does help.
Yes, you know this music by now for all you SportsTownChicago.com listeners. Welcome back into the Horvat and Fahey Show here on SportsTownChicago.com. And making his first appearance on the Horvat and Fahey Show is freelance writer Gabe Salgado. He covers it all around the Chicagoland area. He joins us on the Illinois Center for Broadcasting hotline, and you guys can follow him on Twitter at Gabe Salgado82. Today we're going to talk some Bears X's and O's defensively. Gabe, welcome back onto the station. How are you?
Well, thanks for recycling my theme music.
You know what? I can never go away from Dr. Dre. Nothing but a G thing. Can't go away from that. It's always tradition. Now, let's get into this now with Vic Fangio. Ryan and I just talked about this with Christian Ginn just a moment ago. How, and the X's and O's, how John Fox kind of with his defense goes 4-3, 4 linebackers, 3 defensive linemen. And now, and Vic Fangio from San Francisco, he goes 3-4, does the opposite. And in your mind, how do you think this is going to merge together with this defense? It's been terrible the last couple of seasons, and it appears that the right guys, that being John Fox and Vic Fangio for defensive purposes, are in place now. And obviously, we still need to wait for the personnel changes, the free agency, the draft, and all that. But initially, right now, what are your initial thoughts on what can the Bears do defensively with a 4-3 or a 3-4 with the guys they have in place right now?
Well, I'll tell you what, a 3-4 would definitely be a nice change of pace. I mean, the Bears have only been running a 4-3 since the dawn of time, and I think it would be nice to change things up. And I think there's a few guys on the roster that they can use in that spot right now. You take a look along the defensive line. Jeremiah Ratliff has experience playing in a 3-4 like he did in Dallas. If they can re-sign Stephen Paya, I wouldn't mind, seeing him take a shot at nose tackle. Lamar Houston has a little bit of experience in a 3-man front. If he can, get healthy and, of course, get his act together, because obviously acting a fool is what got him the knee injury in the first place. Maybe he could be a little more productive. Perhaps, Will Sutton, Eagle Ferguson could adjust and play in a 3-man front. As for the linebacker spot, Willie Young, you take a look at Willie Young, obviously he's played in a 4-3 his entire career, but, considering his speed, I think he can make an adjustment to being a pass rush outside linebacker, and this could also be the opportunity that someone like Shane McClellan's been waiting for. McClellan, he tried it as a 4-3 defensive end. Obviously that didn't work. He tried the adjustment to linebacker. He looked good in practice, but he couldn't translate that over to game day, and plus he was injured too. So I think this is definitely what Shane McClellan needs to be a productive player in the NFL. And then obviously Jared Allen could be an odd man out in the situation because he's never played in a 3-4, but obviously the Bears, gave him guaranteed money, so I think the Bears could probably find some way for him. It'd also be interesting to see, Christian Jones in a 3-4 perhaps, what they could do with somebody like Kasim Green. Maybe, he could finally, get his chance with a 3-4, so there's a lot of possibilities here. And on top of that, Ed Donatel was hired as the defensive backs coach. Ed Donatel has a lot of experience working in 3-4 defenses, so I definitely think the Bears are leaning in that direction, and I wouldn't mind seeing them do it because I think there's a lot of possibilities there. Also, Cornelius Washington, he played in a 3-4 to some degree when he was in college at Georgia. So, the Bears do have guys that I think if they put them in the right places, I think they can make this work.
Gabe, Ryan here. What do you think Jared Allen's future has in store? Because, he could probably serve as a rush linebacker, you'd figure, on passing downs, but he's going to be 33 next season. I don't think he's going to be interested in moving from a 4-3 defensive end to a 3-4 outside linebacker. You think we've seen the last of Jared Allen in a Bears jersey?
That's tough to call. And just like you said, he's getting older, and obviously this past season he showed that he was getting older because he was having trouble getting to the quarterback, didn't put up high numbers, definitely didn't, earn the contract that he was given. And, just like you said, will he be willing to switch to a 3-4? Who knows? But, the problem is the Bears had, guaranteed him $15 million or something like that. So, obviously one way or another, if the Bears were to cut him or trade him, they'd have to part ways with that money as well. So, just like, it's kind of like similar with the Jay Cutler situation. They have guaranteed money tied up in Jared Allen, and, the question is whether the Bears would be willing to part ways with him and just eat that salary.
Vic Fangio brings a top 10 ranked defense coming into Chicago. He's been having a top 10 ranked defense with the giveaway takeaway ratio, yards given up, points given up over the last 4 seasons. It's been in the top 10 in each of those categories for the last 4 seasons now, going back to 2011. How high do you set the bar for this first season under Vic Fangio? Because obviously this is a big turnaround off of the Mark Trestman, Phil Emery era. And, it's a whole new regime. There's a lot of new change coming once again for the first time in 2 years. I know that, it seems like obviously they're making quick changes, but it's obviously for the better. How high are you going to set the bar, maybe not necessarily statistically, but in terms of how you want to rank this Bears defense amongst the NFL?
Well, I definitely think, finishing in the top 10 would be a good start, although I don't know if we'll get that in the first year. But, definitely the Bears have made some moves, in the right direction that could hopefully get this team there. But, obviously, hopefully, Vic Fangio comes as good as advertised, because remember, he also had, quite a bit of talent on that San Francisco roster. It helps when you got guys like Justin Smith and, Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman and guys like that. Of course, Navarro Bowman when he was staying out of trouble. But, obviously, they had a lot of talent on that roster. The Bears don't have as much talent. They have potential, but they don't have the type of talent. So hopefully, Fangio and whatever other coaches that they hire with the defense, obviously Dontel's in the mix too. Hopefully they can turn these guys into the type of defense that they need to be successful. But I definitely wouldn't mind the Bears, finishing at least in the top 15 in defense next season.
Gabe, actually in training camp I had the opportunity to interview Jonathan Bostic. He told me that, throughout the injuries and stuff, that he's kind of learned how to play all the linebacker spots. I mean, inside linebacker in a 3-4 is pretty similar to the middle linebacker spot in a 4-3. I think the main difference is a 3-4 inside linebacker doesn't have to cover as much ground as the 4-3 middle backer. So Bostic fits there. But do you think that he could ever get over, his struggle fighting off blocks, or do you think that he'll ever be a legit inside backer in this league, or you think it's time for the Bears maybe to move on? Have we seen the best that he has to offer?
I hope so. He's still under contract for another year or two, so hopefully he'll finally, shake off the cobwebs and, become the beast that he's capable of being. I mean, it is disheartening that he can't fight off blocks, and, it's also disheartening that he finds himself out of position at times. So maybe, a new defensive scheme could help with that. But, ultimately it's up to Bostic as to, whether or not he wants to be successful in this league.
Gabe Salgado with us here on the Horvat and Fahey Show on SportsTownChicago.com. The freelance writer is joined with us here, brought to you by the Illinois Center for Broadcasting Hotline, where broadcasting careers begin. Gabe, really quickly, and I know we're on a time constraint, so I want to get this out of the way quickly before we let you go. Adam Gase, new offensive coordinator, John Fox, new head coach, both came from Denver. What are your initial thoughts on these two pairing up now here in Chicago and working with color in that offense?
I think that was a very good idea for Adam Gase as the new general manager to jump on that opportunity. Obviously, it shows that the Bears were serious about bringing change to the franchise, and you saw the success that these guys had in Denver, especially offensively. Jay Cutler's obviously no Peyton Manning, but hopefully they'll put a little more emphasis on Matt Forte and let him carry the load as opposed to Cutler carrying the load, and take a little bit of pressure off of Cutler, and hopefully that would be the Bears' formula to success this coming season.
You guys can follow Gabe on Twitter at Gabe Salgado82. He's a freelance writer, doing it all around the Chicagoland area for local prep sports, college sports, and the pros as well. Gabe, appreciate you dropping the knowledge on Sportstown Chicago. Once again, have a great day, man. We'll talk to you.
All right, thanks, guys. Take care.